On my mind, gotta hustle and grind. Financial literacy always on my mind. I'm stacking knowledge, no time to waste. Gotta invest smart, gotta keep up the pace. I'm reading books, learning all the tricks, studying the market, making calculated picks.
What's up? It's your boy Reckless Ray De Niro, and we are back at it again for part 2 of my financial plan for 2025. Now, we went over the basics, the foundation, the understanding and theses for why I'm making all the rest of the decisions that I am making going into 2025. So now we're going into part 2. This is going to be how I am intending on directing cash flow. Now, part 3 is going to be the actual goals I have set out for myself, but some of them are going to be cash flow goals. So that goal will situate itself in this episode, but it'll probably be revisited a little bit for the next episode, which is actually going to be goals. You got to have a plan for your cash flow. And I'm going to throw that out there. I think it's so important. We have a lot of people that'll tell you how to get to the bag, that'll tell you how to get money in. But if you don't have a plan for where that money's going, you might as well not make it, to be honest. Because most of the time, people who aren't good money managers end up in worse spots when they get a little bit of comeuppance, a little bit of more income, a little bit of more money. So over here on Future Financial Strategies, really a lot of the stuff that I'm doing, obviously we'll be tracking the portfolios as we grow them out. We'll be looking at the positions, mostly revolving around the income portfolio, because that's something that I'm more active in. I'm actively managing that because I'm directing cash flow. A lot of it is cash flow direction. But we'll have the other portfolios. I don't consider myself a trader. All my stuff is long-term holdings. It's the stuff that fits in with my narrative. Obviously, we went over that in part 1. If you have not watched part 1, I'm going to put a reference link to part 1 in the video just in case you're jumping in at part 2. Also, if this is your first time here, make sure to hit the like button on your way in the door, please. It lets me know that somebody was here, that somebody saw the video, that you guys saw value in it. It also makes me feel good. That's what makes content creators feel good. So hit the like button. The other thing that I would like for you to do if you are not a part of the Wolfpack is I'd invite you to become part of the Wolfpack by hitting that subscribe button and turning all notifications on, because on this channel, we are only dropping gems. It's bag talk all the time. And I don't spam your feed. I know a lot of these people, they make videos all day just to talk about talking. And, you know, during the crypto hype, there's definitely content creators that are just on here making stuff to just make stuff and just talk and just be constantly in your feed, constantly in your algorithm. We're not doing that over here. Definitely not doing it. So I only drop my videos. The beginning of the month is pretty busy. You get a video from me basically every day for the first week. Then afterwards, it's Wednesday and Thursdays. Every once in a while, you might get an emergency drop my opinion on something if I have time. I really don't have time. I'm a busy person. Like, getting the content that I've committed myself to put out is arduous, especially towards the end of the month. It gets pretty crazy, pretty hectic. But that said, I love doing it. I love leaving the breadcrumbs for people to follow behind me, and hopefully you guys find value out of this. For those of you in the Wolfpack, I know you guys find value out of this, but we're trying to make sure we reach as many people as possible because we are not trying to get rich by ourselves. Now, back onto the cash flow rant. It is pivotal. It is pivotal. I would rather you maximize what you have and then go get the bag and be able to maximize that than go get the bag and then have to do this all backwards. It's just so much harder because you have the ability to dig yourself into a deeper hole, is my ideology on it. Also, maximizing what you have means that when you do go get to that bag, when you do expand your income, you know what to do with it, which is also super important, because if you don't, like, people don't just accidentally get rich. People don't accidentally get wealthy. People don't accidentally get financially free. The other thing that I don't want to do, that I am not necessarily a big fan of, is becoming wealthy or becoming financially free by being a miser. Like, I don't want to live a subpar life. I'm not going to live like I live in a trailer park just to be like, oh, well, I'm financially free. Be like, yeah, your life sucks too. Like, why would you do that? Why? Like, it just doesn't make sense. So one of the things that I am focused on, obviously, is curtailing out the life that I'd be happy with. Like, I don't necessarily strive for happiness. I strive for options, but I need to have a certain amount of options so that I don't stress. And we're not there yet. So we're still working. Obviously, this is a track to $1 million in net worth. We're going towards that. We're doing it without it being 401k and house weighted. Got some stuff coming up in 2025, a couple of moves that I'm looking to make to really even accentuate that even further, because I'm planning on being retired well before I would have access to a 401k anyway. So for me, that is a useless tool aside from the tax benefit. You got to do some math there. You got to go do a little bit of looking up to see what the tax code is, because I do understand a 401k from that perspective. But from what we're seeing from the people who've been riding the 401k out their entire work careers, and then they retire and the fees have eaten up their account and they don't have enough to go off into the sunset and have that good life that was promised with the 2.5 children, a great family, and the picket fence, they're having to go be door greeters at Walmart. And I figure if you're going to have to go be a door greeter at Walmart anyway, like, I might as well be in control of that money because I'm doing a better job than most brokerages anyway. But we track that on portfolio updates. You get that at the beginning of the month, first Tuesday of the month. Now, the way that I'm looking to direct my cash flow, I've got cash flow from two specific places, obviously. I've got my W-2 income. Obviously, go to work, get your income. That's the heaviest taxed income. You have to go work the hardest for it. You're not appreciated. And generally speaking, you're doing your due diligence to give somebody else umpteen vacations a year and make their quality of life better. And then in return for that, you are compensated to make your life nah. And yeah, like a lot of people, I mean, you can get compensated to get comfortable there, but you gotta find the right mix. And generally speaking, the person who signs your check isn't paying you enough to live next door to them. Those are facts. It's just the way stuff works. So we've got our W-2 income, but I also have a second stream of income because Ray doesn't like asking for raises. Ray is a terrible, terrible self-advocator. He is an amazing executor, but terrible self-advocator. And I find it very, what would I say? I think the premise of having to ask somebody to appreciate and to compensate you while their life is getting better is ridiculous peasant-ish. We're keeping it polite over here, but it's peasant-ish. I'm not going to ask for more money. I'll go hunt and I'll go kill and I'll go get my own money. So what we've done is previously when I first started down this journey, and this would have been well before I got any other income sources, I just went and I knew I needed to get more money than what I was making. I had some debt that I wanted to clear up. I was trying to get my finances together. And, you get that spark when you finally hit whatever the proverbial rock bottom was. For me, it was just, I got one of my credit cards, filed a lawsuit, and I had to like scramble to get a payment plan for them. And then, so I got a payment plan for them, and then I got like 3 more lawsuits, and then I had to lawyer up, and then I found out that I didn't need to pay any of them, which is crazy. But, there's rules with credit, man. And like, you should definitely, at minimum, seek legal counsel to figure out if you actually owe those people money. But that was a trigger for me. So that started me down my financial journey. I did the best that I could. I was like managing them. And then I got a chunk of credit card stuff cleared because it was so old that they didn't have a legal claim to sue me the way that they were doing. So then they started having to pay me money, which is crazy, pretty cool, but crazy. And then moving forward, I'm trucking along. So I'm paying off all the rest of the debt. Like I'm knee deep in. I'm looking at the finances now. I've realized there's a problem. And then it gets to the point to where it's like I did need, and it's one of the gurus' talking points that I don't agree with. I don't advocate for it. Where it's like, well, if you're not making enough money, you got to go get more, and you got to just go get more income. Like, duh. But if you don't know if you're mismanaging the income that you have, that's also an issue. So I start with me first. I'm the problem. But once it got to the point to where like I was ready to take that next leap, I decided that I did need to go get more income to accelerate that because I didn't want to wait. I did not want to wait. So what I did was I started Ubering. I do like side hustles. I done Postmates. I did that when it first came out. I don't like messing with people's food. It's very confusing for me anyways, because like you order stuff from restaurants that isn't there, and like I'm in the restaurant now looking like an idiot. I don't like it. I didn't like that at all. But I do like driving people around, which is weird. It is really weird, but I don't talk to people outside of when I'm getting paid anyway, normally, like unless I'm out with my friends. And even then, I don't talk to people I don't know usually, which is also like we've just all been made antisocial. Like I just talk to our social groups. So I kind of liked it. You got to meet some strangers, hear some stories, like hear their stories, because people would always talk to me. I know that there's like the whole stigma going around that people don't want to talk to their Uber drivers. Everyone talked to me. Like I would be driving, vibing out, thinking about money, and like people would talk to me. Like they would engage in conversation with me, which is also crazy because I'm like, if y'all gonna sit online and complain about your Uber drivers talking to you when you don't want to talk to, assume we don't want you to talk to us. I don't see why that's such a hard thing. That's not a big ask. Like if you're gonna sit there and talk trash about your Uber driver being creepy, y'all are creepy too. And I think it's probably because it's me and I'm not dysgenic and people would want to just talk to you like you're a strapping man, get in the door for them. I get it. But like, I'm not really there to talk to you. Like I'm in my head doing my own thing too. It's like, I'm trying to get paid. But I'd ended up talking, hearing a lot of stories, getting to, fly on the wall in some conversations. But like, it was interesting and I did enjoy it. And it did kind of help me rekindle my social skills a little bit, because normally I'm doing computer stuff or construction. Talking to construction guys is great, but like normal people really don't have much to talk to about at this point, period. Like I don't want to talk to them or be around them. So I did that, got myself positioned in some investments. Namely, it was my intro into crypto. I was throwing every dollar I had into crypto and clearing out debt. So that gave me a boost to get that done at the expense of not necessarily my mental well-being, but like I was functioning on a level of exhaustion that I did not like. Like I said, we were doing for about 3 years there, easily 60 to 100 hours a week, 7 days a week, working in some form or fashion, because like on the weekends, I would really get in there because like I could work all day. Now, mind you, I work all day until it was time to go out because I didn't like working the nightmare shifts for Uber, which is like the weekend nights. That's where people are throwing up in your car and you're having all the bad riders and all that fun stuff. I would work till just pretty much sundown, and I would start early in the morning. So like I would just Uber all day. And then it got to the point towards the end where I was Ubering before and after work and every day on the weekend during the day. So like I was just busy. But it accomplished the task. But it was like, I can do that for certain stints of time. I think the people that tell you that you got to work your face off indefinitely, I do have the capability, considering I'm working start to finish now. Like I get up early, get my workout in. I've factored in a lot more self-care. But the reason is my dividend portfolio, my income portfolio makes more than what I was making Ubering. So I can focus on that and just continue to make money. Now, one of the things that I have been looking into is potentially like starting back up my Uber schedule and just throwing all the money into the income portfolio, and then, letting that rock out how it rocks out. I've considered it. I haven't done it yet because for the business that I'm in, I'm part ownership. So I end up working a lot on the weekends. So when we get behind, I got to shift gears and do that. And I don't really want something in the way, because like when I'm not actively making money and I could be actively making money, it kind of upsets me. And I don't want to get into that space, because it's like when it's time to go, it's time to go. And you got to do what you got to do. And eventually when I transition into early retirement or whatever I'm doing, if it's work optional, then I will probably be doing something that's a lot less stressful and a lot less any type of responsibility for me. And I'll mentally will be in a much better place. There's going to be something easy, probably something a little bit physical. Like, I don't know that I would want to do an office job unless it was completely remote and very mindless for me. Like, it was something easy. But unless something like that fell on my plate, I'm going to be doing exactly what I'm doing now up until when it's time to retire. Now, I'll be working hard, putting in the hours up until I don't have to. And once I don't have to, I'm not going to. Like, it's just going to be what it is. Like, I don't know. Like, I might get a job bartending on the weekends. Like, that was actually pretty fun. A little speed bartending. I enjoy working at the bar. So we can do that too. But the W-2 income, it's the heaviest taxed income. And we will be, flowing that capital. How do we break that down? How do I bust those? How do I bust that bag down when it's payday? Well, first of all, we have debt. Obviously, we're doing the Debt Crusher episode updates every month, Operation Debt, where we're working on paying down. Well, it's a little bit under $28,000 now, but we're working on paying down that debt load. So that's a priority. It's not the priority because I have forced myself, and I'm going to do a video on this. I've forced myself into a space where I have a bare minimum that's on auto deduct or direct deposit. So my direct deposit split up between a few places, and I'm going to do a video on how I break that down. But it's a bare minimum because I like manually moving my money around, by and large, for the most part. But having a bare minimum keeps me from breaking my bare minimum metrics. It just is what it is. I did find a utility for it because before I wasn't an advocate for it because I'm like, well, that's an easy way to bounce a check or not have control over where your money's going or have something be messed up and go somewhere where you don't have enough money coming out now. But then I thought about it and I was like, well, if I force myself into a bare minimum scenario where it's like the bare minimum amount of money is going here, here, and here, then I can force myself on a bare minimum no matter what I want to do with that money. It's already in the brokerage account. It's already there ready to buy some Bitcoin. It's already where it needs to be. It's already in the other brokerage account that you're building out a little bit at a time. It's already, there's a little bit over there, already there. And it's working. It's keeping me on track. It's keeping me focused. And I like the added focus because I don't have to do the math for the bare minimum. I go, okay, these are what the bills are. This is what we're paying out. What are we doing there? So I have the investments are a key part of where the income goes. And I have two things. I have my income portfolio, which right now all the income portfolio is stashed in one spot. As we move forward, I might be breaking that out. That's also on the docket, is because like I would like to have some things focused. Now, how we're going to do that focus, I'm not 100% sure yet, but I know for a fact that I don't know because I like getting the one big check. Like I said, I like distributing the money myself. So as it sits right now, I mean, I would like something strategic to where it's like, hey, I'm constantly whittling down my mortgage because obviously one of my long-term goals, not long, but like long-term overarching goal is to get my mortgage payment paid down to $20,000. Reason being, and I know most of you would be like, why wouldn't you just pay it off? because I don't want to be responsible for sending in the check for taxes, basically, because the mortgage company does that for me, and a $20,000 mortgage over 30 years is like $100, and I'm fine paying them those fees, that interest on that amount of money for them to manage the taxes. I just taxes and insurance, like it's just easy to have them do it. It's tied into the mortgage, so it'd be like what, a $240 mortgage, something like that. House is pretty much paid off. I'm paying the bank to manage my insurance and my taxes, because at that rate, the rest of my wealth will be paying that anyway. As it sits right now, I am at a space where my dividends do pay my mortgage. Not only do they pay the mortgage, they pay the mortgage and a little bit extra, which is freaking awesome. So once we get this debt cleared strategically, I'm going to be able to do some interesting stuff, but I would like something set aside specifically to just attack the principal. Like whittle that down, because the goal is to pay that mortgage off early. And I'm not outside of the realm of being able to do that. Like if I wanted to clear out all my assets, I could pay all my debt and my house off and be just sitting, feeling good about myself, I guess, what have you. But I don't want that money tied up in my property, because that's a dead asset in my opinion. I'm making way more money buying Bitcoin and building out this income portfolio. Now, if the income comes out of the income portfolio, though, I would be more apt to start rushing that just to get it down, just to get like some chunks on it. Because as you chunk out that principal, it drags your payment down. But that's another one of my goals. So like the income is primarily where everything sits first. Now, outside of that, I have my long-term holdings portfolio, which I'm growing now. Like I'm actively making strides to get into position on that portfolio as well. And we're going to be going over when we get to the goals in part 3, I'm going to break down what I'm targeting in 2025, what we're going to be buying voraciously to add to the portfolio, and my thought process behind that, which we already know is income or exponential growth. Those are the things that we're looking at. And with that, it's a small budding portfolio. There's only 2 positions in it right now, and it's kind of boring, because like I'll pick something, I'm like, cool, I'm going to buy this until I get to 10 shares, or I'm going to start buying. Granted, the first position that we started buying MicroStrategy stock. Obviously, if you've been following the income portfolio, the majority of it we consolidated down into specifically a MicroStrategy position, and it has been doing swimmingly well. That portfolio isn't even supposed to be about growth. We are currently just stomping out the S&P 500. We're doing better than the market. We're doing better than what your financial advisor is doing. Those auto robo traders, we're doing better than most of those. We're doing better than what the company provided 401k is doing. It's ridiculous. And that's a portfolio that we weren't even looking at growth in. We were looking to that portfolio specifically to just produce a check. And then I'll worry about what happens with the money. But I'm thinking we're going to be getting some big checks, because it's just cup runneth over. Like it's doing really well. So we're going to be adding some more positions in there. Obviously, thesis focus. But since we're capable of getting some growth, I'm going to go ahead and rock it out for the rest of the bull run. And we're going to continue feeding the machine. You got to put a little bit back in, a little bit of reinvestments required for high yield dividends, because you got NAV erosion. It's not the big boogeyman in the room, but it's like if you keep like putting a little bit of money in there, you can work that out. Now, that's bringing us over to the dividend portfolio, which is my second source of income. Projected out next year, it's going to be about 50%, if not more, of my income, because I've got a couple of moves left towards the end of the year and the beginning of next year while I'm waiting to do taxes. I've got a tax strategy that I've got built into this portfolio. And this year, for sure, I think it's going to do swimmingly well what I'm planning on doing with that. We'll do that it probably won't be this month's portfolio update, but the beginning of 2025's portfolio update, I'll break down. I'll do that portfolio update. I'm going to deep dive into my tax strategy for my high yield dividends, because people are like, oh, dividends, you better do that in your Roth so that you can't have access to it until you're 59, 65, whatever age that's 70, who knows. But I'm trying to retire early. I don't want to be grinding my body down for somebody else until I'm 65 or 59 or whatever. Like, that just sounds asininely stupid for somebody like myself, because I'm going to be in a position where I'm going to be making enough money to not go to work sooner rather than later. So I'm not going to do, I don't think I want to do that. Like, at least not in the capacity that I'm in now. Like, definitely not. So what we're looking at is from projections for where it's sitting right now. And those projections are not accurate. And I say not accurate because the way that they work is like, it generally will do an assessment based on the last payout that you got, but the payouts aren't consistent because this is people trading in the market on your behalf. It's a hedge fund doing it. So I'm assuming that they're going to be better at it than I am, but also it's one less thing that I have to do, at least until I retire. Like, once I retire, I might go take the time to learn how to like look for these things when I have time to sit in front of the computer all day. It's just, I'm working. So like, I'm not looking at the market. I get to look at the market at lunch and on the way back to the shop towards the end of the day. Or if I actually take my breaks, which I usually don't. That aside, I don't have time to sit and day trade or put in options plays. Like, I don't have time to do it. I don't have time to learn it. So it's easier for me to have a hedge fund dude do it, because like, he went to school, he's got all the certifications and whatnot, all those pieces of paper that people care about, but they produce a check every month. The issue is they're not consistent. So like, if you're in a bear market or in a downtrend, like, granted, now we have some ability to strategize around that. But until we get to that point, like, I'm focused on my trajectory for this year, which I know that's a shorter time window than what I have spent. I always tell people to build your strategy based on 5 years, 10 years, because that's where I normally look. But this is a 4th year, and there's a certain narrative around this year specifically that we're going to capitalize on. So I'm positioning myself to get some really great payouts. The administration that we're under, positioning myself to get some really great payouts. And we're breaking down those dividend checks as follows. Obviously, we're using some of that income in operation debt. We're using that to fuel and reload the holster on our in-home banking and cash out plays. So that way we're still shooting out those payments. We're doing that. We also have the Bitcoin standard, which both my W-2 and the dividends are buying into, because I am still buying Bitcoin. While I am no longer, when I talked about investments, I'm no longer actively putting W-2 money into the market. I am taking my savings portion of that. I have a Bitcoin standard that I've implemented with my finances across the board. So I am going to be constantly buying Bitcoin. Now, until we get to the 32 ETH that I need, because that's my next goal, at the end of every year when we do our portfolio teardown, which our bull run portfolio, we probably won't be tearing that all the way down unless we have some positions that are clippable. But we've hit a metric, because I said I was going to stop actively buying at 80K. So we're on cooldown for the end of the year. We've well surpassed 80K. We've hit some very important targets, which we'll be talking about on our financial update, because I'm pretty excited about that. But we're going to be on cooldown at the beginning of the year. I'll probably have a certain allocation that I might throw into some more altcoin plays. But as it sits right now, what's in the market is generating a little bit of income each month. And so we'll be redistributing those into position, and that's going to be the continued growth of that portfolio is whatever we're kicking off from our DeFi space plays. But the Bitcoin, we're always buying Bitcoin. At the end of the year, though, we will be converting some Bitcoin over into Ethereum, into Lido staked Ethereum to add to that pool of Ethereum. Excited about that. That aside, we're gonna keep on trucking, keep trucking along, keep it rocking. And we're focusing heavily on filling that income portfolio. Like that is the next area, because that is what is going to get us to retire early, work optional space. I don't want to have to use my crypto as the moral of the story here. Like that's how much I value my crypto portfolio. I don't want to have to start eating into my longs until way later. I don't want to touch it. I don't want to have to mess with it. The high yield dividend space has given me the opportunity to, as somebody who I consider myself pretty good at managing money, as we're tracking this, as this drags on, as we move forward, we'll get to see what the results of those are. What if I'm actually able to back up the stuff that I'm saying, but I'd say that I'm better than most people at it. I'm better than the average Joe. So that's given me an opportunity to get ahead on things. So the dividend income, we've got the investments, which Bitcoin standard isn't always, that's a standard. Our long-term holdings portfolio, we are actively using our dividend payouts now that they're rather large to send over and buy at least once a month. I'm getting at least one share of MicroStrategy. It's probably going to be MicroStrategy accompanied with something else, because now that it's priced, MicroStrategy has blown up and priced me out as far as shooting over W-2 income, because that would be too much money coming out of the check to buy a share every paycheck, which was what I was originally doing, which is cool because I think we're at like, I think it's either 4 or 5. I think I said I had 6 shares left, which I thought I was going to be able to get 3 this month, 3 next month, and I would have had 10. My goal is to get 10 shares of MicroStrategy. Why? Because I believe that it's going to be an equivalent to Berkshire Hathaway. I think it's going to be a holding worth having. I know that they're getting a little bit of negative press. I'm hoping it dips more, because I will buy my last 6 shares if we can get back down below 300. I don't think it's going to happen. But that's the position that we're working on right now. So the paycheck money, though, I do want to be buying something in that long-term portfolio. So I got a couple of positions that are a little bit less expensive on my watch list that I'm looking very intently at starting, and it'll probably be, I'll be buying MicroStrategy with the big payouts from the dividend. I'll be getting a share, and it's just going to go slower to get to that 10. And then as the checks come in, I'll be buying a few shares or a share of something that's less expensive, because the way that I have it earmarked for myself right now is sub $300. So it has to be something that's under $300. And depending on which project I go with and what target I end up sitting at, because I think everything for starting out, all my initial positions is just going to be a bum rush to 10 shares. I think that's what I'm going to do. And then once I get to 10, I'll move on to the next position and then grind that out and get to 10. And then we'll circle back and see what we got to do with whatever's left. So that's what we're doing with the long-term portfolio. As far as the dividends are concerned. And then every once in a while, I got a couple little side hustle things where I get like a little check here, a little check there every couple of months. We might be expanding on that, because that could be potentially some more income, which could be nice. But all the side hustle income is outside of the Bitcoin standard, because we take a certain percentage of every dollar that comes in to my house, period, goes in to buying some Bitcoin, because we're always buying. At no point are we not buying. When it hit 90, we bought. We broke 80, we bought under the Bitcoin standard. I'm not flooding the market. I'm not rushing into nothing, but we're putting money into Bitcoin constantly. I'm always buying. But the side hustle income minus the Bitcoin standard money is going all into the income because we are very focused on our income portfolio. Like that is a big priority because the potential on it, especially in this window of time, is just, I'm feeling real good about it. I'm feeling like I can make some dramatic changes. And it's not just a matter of the retire early part. It's the ability to fund my long-term investments. Like there's a lot of other moving parts because as long as I'm working, once that debt's paid off, then I have all that money that I can do stuff with on top of what I've got going. It's just, I got to get this debt paid down. And specifically it's because we have $12,000 of revolving, this isn't 0% debt that's out there that like we're having to, I got to do something about it. Medical bills, just what it is. Like we've already done the Operation Debt video where that's explained, but that is a priority. It is a thorn in my side and my foot, what have you. And it has become, it's a shackle. We're going into the bull run. I was intending on having all the debt cleared by now, with the exception of the stuff that we're using to buy assets, because we are leveraging to buy assets. The issue is you get medical bills on top of what you were leveraging. Like that's when life comes in and people are like, oh, look, you see, except for what they don't see is my portfolio is up 40%. I'm choosing not to liquidate. So now at this juncture, I've got $28,000 in debt, roughly. My portfolio, just the income part of the portfolio, is $24,000. Just that. That's not including the crypto, which is over six figures. That's not including the long-term portfolio, which is now over $3,000. So technically speaking, my portfolios from the decisions that I've made have grown past the existing debt that exists right now. I just don't want to liquidate it because the opportunity cost on the income that's coming in, I'm fine paying it off slow because it's not going to take me a year to pay off the $12,000. It's just annoying. And so like that's where my focus is, because I don't like having a very high level of floating debt. And to be honest, the medical debt is 50% ish of that debt. So the other part of it is stuff that I leverage to buy these positions, and then the stuff that I've got the stuff that I leverage to buy the position. So honestly, the revolving debt, which I capped myself at 5,000, is actually about, I'd say roughly about 4,000 of it. Actually, probably 3. It's closer to 3 than 4. That's for sure. So like that would have been something that would have been super easy to pay off anyway. It's just where we're at is where we're at. So we're kind of handling this touch and go, because the stuff that's on 0% interest, I'm not that worried about. Like we're taking a small chunk, we're paying whatever the minimum is plus a little bit extra, but we've got time on those debts. It's the 12,000 that is sitting there that's more or less immobile right now. That's the focus. So we're dialed in completely on that specifically. And that's how we're navigating the cash flow. I nerd out on the cash flow piece of this. Like that's actually the thing. Like I got a buddy who does options. Shout out to Razik. He eats, sleeps, and poops, because we're trying to be polite over here. I'm sure there's going to be a point in time on some of these episodes towards the end where I drop some cuss words, and I am sorry in advance. But I am passionate about this. And like, but he eats, sleeps, and poops options trading, futures, all these things. He keeps learning these new strategies. He always hits me up and he's got dope stuff to talk about because he's constantly learning, super excited. And he like, for a long time, he like kept trying to get me into options, get me into futures, get me into like all these things that he's doing. And I was just like, I'm not that interested, to be honest. And once I got into the high yield dividend space, the cash flow manipulation part of it and being able to see your income grow and start tracking your income and seeing like where you're going, tracking how much I'm investing. So being able to look at my savings number versus every dollar that comes into my house, that I nerd out about it. Like, I love that part of finance. Like, I like it. I like making my little spreadsheet. I like going, hey, like, how much did I get in from here? How much did I get in from here? How much debt do we got? What's that correlate to as far as my net worth? I like that game. Money management and money strategy that's my jam. I eat, sleep, and poop that. Like, I'm always listening to new strategies. I'm commenting. Those of you over on Reddit, y'all know I'll be up in them chats, not in the chat, but like I'll be on those posts all the time. Like, I'll give my 2 cents on all those posts because I find it interesting. Like, I find it just as interesting as crypto because I can see how this is going to change my life. When I got into crypto, I didn't understand the life-changing effects I was going to have. But at this juncture, with the way that my mind works now, I can see what this is going to do. And it makes me just as excited. Like, it's like this and crypto. Those things I find interesting, and just finding ways to become more efficient, more financially efficient, more sovereign. Because I'm getting to a point now to where I'm buying time and freedom and giving myself additional opportunity. So I'm going to get to do some stuff that I previously, every year prior to, wasn't even a thought process. I would never thought that I was going to be going anywhere out of the country next year. Any previous year. Even with the crypto stuff, because I don't like spending the crypto. Like, I can't bring myself to liquidate anything. So that's also a non-starter. Oh yeah, one last income. Crypto income. Reinvest into crypto, 100%. That's what we're doing with that. So that's like I said, non-starter, because I don't like coming out of the market. But, next year not only am I planning on going to Bitcoin Nashville, because like I'm going to start going to industry conferences for industries that I'm active in, which is going to be cool. But we're also planning on taking a trip out of the country to go look at some potential, second, third, tertiary opportunities and places that I can exist once this income portfolio is where it needs to be. So let me know down in the chat. Do you guys have plans for your cash flow? Are you guys looking at that? Are you looking at how much you're spending versus how much you're actually saving? Do people actually pull these numbers, or am I just the biggest nerd on the planet when it comes to this thing in particular? Because I am. I love that stuff. Like, I love doing my numbers in the month, good or bad, because like if I have a bad month, I got to go back through and be like, okay, what did I buy this month? What large purchases did I have? Were they planned? Was this intentional? How did I pay for that with W-2 money, or did I pay for it with dividend money? Where'd the money come from? As always, if you got a problem that's financial, all you got to do is follow the money and you'll find where the leak is. It's just people don't want to look. Until next week, people, it's your boy, Reckless Ray De Niro. You guys have a good one. Going into bag fortification Friday, which is tomorrow. Make sure to fortify the bag. Don't fumble the bag. Peace.
Money on my mind. Yeah. Focus, got no time for games. Nah, I don't play, man. I'm all about that financial literacy. Investing in my future, building generational wealth. Dollar bills, they be calling my name, but I ain't chasing fame, I'm chasing change. Learn the game, now I'm playing it smart. Putting my money to work, it's an art. I'm stacking paper, building my own empire. No more living check to check, I'm getting higher. Investing in stocks, real estate, and more. Gotta secure the bag, that's what I came for.